The Boston winter morning was mercilessly cold. Melissa Harrison gazed at the snow beginning to fall outside her window while thinking about today's important business meeting in Gloucester. Her skills as senior sales director could shape the future of her company. Lily, time to wake up. Melissa headed to her 6-year-old daughter's room and opened the door. She couldn't help but smile at the sight of Lily's golden hair spread across the pillow as she slept. "Good morning, my angel," she kissed Lily's forehead. The little eyes slowly opened, looking up at Melissa with a still dreamy expression. Life as a single mother had never been easy. After her divorce 3 years ago, her ex-husband Michael had moved to the West Coast, seeing Lily only a few times a year. As senior sales director at NextGen Healthcare, a Boston medical device manufacturer, Melissa had been especially busy lately. "Lily, do you remember about my business trip that starts today?" Melissa asked while placing pancakes on Lily's plate. "Yes. You'll be gone for 2 weeks, right?" "I'm staying with Grandma and Aunt Vanessa," Lily answered while pouring maple syrup. "That's right. Grandma and your aunt will take care of you," Melissa said, feeling a twinge of anxiety. Her relationships with her mother Eleanor and sister Vanessa were far from ideal. Since her husband's death, Eleanor had struggled financially and frequently sought assistance from Melissa. Vanessa had dropped out of college and never found stable employment, openly envying her sister's success. She seemed unable to bear that Melissa lived in a luxurious apartment, held an important position at a prestigious company, and maintained her beauty. Melissa read a message from her mother on her phone: "Don't worry about Lily. Vanessa and I will take good care of her. You focus on your work." The words should have sounded kind, but there was a coldness to them. As a child, Melissa had been hurt countless times by her mother's harsh words: "You need to be prettier or no one will look at you, your intelligence might be your only good quality, but men don't like women who are too smart." And even as an adult, there were the subtle reactions to her success. Congratulatory words tainted with jealousy. Upon arriving at Eleanor's house, Eleanor and Vanessa greeted them at the door. Eleanor's face was heavily made up, while Vanessa appeared with carelessly tied hair and flashy clothes. "Well, Melissa. You look lovely as always," Eleanor's voice was gentle, but her eyes weren't smiling. "Hey, Lily. Can you give your aunt a hug?" Vanessa opened her arms. Lily hesitated slightly but soon embraced her. "We've got lots of fun planned," Vanessa's voice had an unnatural cheerfulness. Melissa carried in Lily's bags and explained what she needed to know. Eleanor listened with a slightly bored expression and finally said, "Don't worry, Melissa. I raised 2 children. I can handle one." When it was time to leave, Melissa hugged Lily tightly. "I love you, Lily. I'll be back soon." "I love you too, Mommy," Lily hugged back with her small arms around Melissa's neck. That night, after arriving at her hotel, Melissa immediately called Lily. "Mommy. Today I baked cookies with Grandma. Then I played cards with Aunt Vanessa," Lily's voice sounded cheerful. "Sounds fun. Are Grandma and Auntie being nice?" "Yes, they're nice," Lily answered, but there was a moment of silence. But? Melissa grew concerned. "No, nothing," Lily quickly changed her tone. "Mommy, when are you coming home?" Even after hanging up, anxiety lingered in Melissa's heart. Something felt off about Lily's voice. But she had an important meeting tomorrow and needed to keep her mind clear. Surely everything would be fine. Lily was a strong girl. Melissa tried to reassure herself. On the 3rd day of her business trip, Melissa slumped in a chair in her dimly lit hotel room in Gloucester, completely exhausted. Today's negotiation had been more difficult than expected. The client's purchasing manager had bombarded her with detailed questions about her proposal, finally ending the meeting with, "We're considering proposals from other companies." "I have to get this contract," Melissa murmured, looking up at the ceiling. Outside the window, gray clouds hung low, and a light rain had begun to fall. Even the weather seemed to reflect her mood. Looking at the clock, she realized it was dinner time in Boston. What might Lily be doing now? Suddenly, thoughts of her daughter welled up inside her. The anxiety she'd felt before the trip resurfaced. Melissa picked up her smartphone and called her mother's house. After 3 rings, Vanessa finally answered. "Hello, Melissa?" Vanessa's voice sounded somewhat flustered. "Vanessa, can I talk to Lily?" Melissa asked directly. "Oh, Lily? We're just having dinner. Could you call back later?" Melissa heard the sound of kitchen utensils clattering in the background. "Could you put her on right now?" "Just for a minute," Melissa insisted. "All right, hold on," Vanessa's voice hardened slightly. Over the phone, Melissa heard Vanessa calling, "Lily, it's your mom." But there was no immediate response. "Lily." Vanessa's voice grew stronger. "Can we switch to a video call?" "I want to see Lily's face," Melissa said, following a sudden impulse. After a moment of silence, Vanessa responded with slight reluctance, "Yes, fine." When the call switched to video, Vanessa's face appeared first. She seemed uneasy, and her hand holding the camera appeared to be trembling slightly. "Where's Lily?" Melissa demanded. "Here she is." Vanessa turned the camera toward what appeared to be the kitchen. What Melissa saw made her blood run cold. At the dining table sat Lily with what was clearly a bowl of dog food in front of her. Brown pellets were heaped high. Tears stained Lily's cheeks, and her small hand clutched a spoon. Eleanor stood beside her, whispering something in her ear. "Lily?" Melissa's voice trembled. Lily looked at the camera and began crying harder. "Mommy? What's happening? What's going on?" Melissa felt her heart pounding. At that moment, Lily tried to bring a spoonful of dog food toward her mouth. Her little hand was shaking, and her face showed fear and disgust. "Mommy. Grandma says I have to eat this," Lily said tearfully. Melissa froze in horror. "Lily. Don't eat that. Put it down right now," she cried desperately. Just then, laughter could be heard in the background. As Vanessa moved the camera slightly, Melissa could see Eleanor standing by the kitchen counter. She had her hand over her mouth, shoulders shaking with laughter. "If you want to be high and mighty like Melissa, you need to learn to eat dog food." Eleanor's words pierced Melissa like a sharp blade. "Mommy's precious Lily, I wonder if you can be like your mommy." Vanessa's mocking voice joined in. The 2 women were laughing together. "Stop it. Stop right now," Melissa shouted, her voice shaking. "Lily, listen. That's not food. Put it down immediately. I'm coming home right away." Lily dropped the spoon and began crying more intensely. "Mommy, I'm scared. I'm coming home now. Lily, please leave that place. Please," Melissa said desperately. Eleanor grabbed the camera, and her face appeared in close-up. "Oh, Melissa. It's a joke, just a joke. Don't react so dramatically," she said laughingly. But her eyes were cold and cruel. "You." Melissa's voice shook with anger. "If you hurt Lily. Look, we're not making her eat it." The camera turned toward Lily. Melissa could see Eleanor's hand gripping Lily's shoulder tightly, forcing her to smile. "Tell her it's a joke, Lily." Lily wiped her tears and said in a trembling voice, It's a joke, Mommy. I'm coming home now. Don't you dare touch Lily until I get there," Melissa said in an icy voice and ended the call. The next moment, she was calling her boss, Jonathan. "It's an emergency. I need to return to Boston immediately. My daughter." She explained the situation, struggling to find words. Understanding Jonathan immediately agreed. "Family comes first. Take the next flight back. I'll cover the remaining meetings." After hanging up, Melissa immediately booked a flight ticket. Fortunately, there was a late flight to Boston that night. Then she contacted her longtime friend, police officer Daniel Costa. "Daniel, I need help," Melissa explained the situation in a trembling voice. "I'll head over right away. If anything happens to Lily in the meantime, it's on me." Daniel's voice held unwavering determination. As she packed her bags, Melissa's mind was in turmoil. Why would her mother and sister do something so cruel? She knew this was no mere joke. This was revenge. Ugly revenge stemming from jealousy of her success, her happiness, and most of all, her love for her daughter. In the taxi heading to the airport, Melissa was tormented by memories from the past. Her mother looking at her report card and saying, "Being this smart is unfortunate for a girl." Vanessa's cold stare when she reported her first promotion. The words from both of them after her divorce, when she recovered and started a new life, "You're always lucky, you're the only one shining while others are struggling." And Lily. The thought that her beloved daughter was falling victim to their ugly hearts made anger flare up like flames inside Melissa. On the plane, Melissa contacted Daniel several times. He had already arrived at Eleanor's house and was assessing the situation. Lily is safe. She's crying, but doesn't appear to have suffered any physical harm. Daniel's words brought Melissa slight relief. Eleanor and Vanessa are making excuses. They keep repeating it was just a joke. Keep them away from her. Until I get there, Melissa said firmly. It was late night when she arrived in Boston. Melissa immediately took a taxi to her mother's house. In the car, she called Daniel with trembling hands. "I'll be there soon." "How's Lily?" "She's calming down." Knowing I'm a police officer seems to have reassured her. Daniel's voice was gentle. Eleanor and Vanessa are in the kitchen. Both look pale. When Melissa arrived, Daniel was waiting at the entrance. His uniform added official weight to the situation. "Where's Lily?" Melissa asked as soon as she jumped out of the car. "In the living room." Melissa ran into the house. On a small sofa in the living room sat an exhausted Lily, curled up. When she spotted Melissa, relief spread across her little face. "Mommy." Lily ran to Melissa, crying. Melissa held her daughter tightly, feeling her small body trembling. "It's okay, now, I'm here," she whispered. The kitchen door opened, and Eleanor and Vanessa appeared. "It was just a joke, Melissa," Eleanor spoke first. Her voice tried to sound composed, but fear was mixed in. "We never intended to actually make her eat it." "That's right, sis," Vanessa hastily added. "We were just playing around." Lily was having fun. Melissa glared at them with an icy stare while holding Lily. "Having fun," her voice carried a low, dangerous tone. "While my daughter was crying, trying to eat dog food? That's..." Eleanor was at a loss for words. Daniel stepped forward and said with a stern expression, "Your actions could be charged as child abuse. There's suspicion that you caused psychological distress to Lily and attempted to force her to consume inappropriate food." The color drained from Eleanor and Vanessa's faces. "Charges?" Eleanor repeated in a trembling voice. "But, we're family." "Melissa, are you planning to press charges against your own mother?" Melissa, gently stroking Lily's hair, answered calmly, "This is the end between us." "What do you mean?" Vanessa pressed. "You're going to cut family ties over a little prank?" "That's so like you, Melissa. Always perfect, unable to forgive others' small mistakes." "Small mistakes?" Melissa's voice rose slightly. But feeling Lily tremble in her arms, she quickly regained her composure. "Daniel, could you gather Lily's belongings? They should be in the upstairs guest room." Daniel nodded and went upstairs. "Melissa, please," Eleanor took a step closer. "Reconsider. We were just..." "Enough," Melissa raised her hand to cut off her mother's words. "I'm taking Lily home. And tomorrow, I'll formally file a police report." "But..." "Mommy," Lily's small voice resonated against Melissa's chest. "I want to go home." "Of course, sweetheart," Melissa answered gently. Daniel returned with Lily's bags. "Got everything?" "Thank you." Melissa headed toward the door with Lily in her arms. At the doorway, she turned back to look at her trembling mother and sister. "I'm disappointed in you. But not surprised." In the darkness of night, Melissa's car drove away from Eleanor's house. In the back seat, Lily had fallen asleep from exhaustion. Occasionally, her small body would shake as if having a nightmare. Melissa checked on Lily repeatedly in the rearview mirror. "Will she be okay?" Melissa asked Daniel softly. He turned back to look at the sleeping Lily. "Children are resilient. But she might need professional care," he answered gently. "I'll recommend a child psychologist tomorrow." When they arrived at Melissa's home, they quietly carried Lily to her room without waking her. As they laid her on the bed, Lily remained asleep, but her small hand tightly gripped Melissa's shirt. "Don't leave me," Lily murmured in her sleep. "It's okay, Mommy's here," Melissa replied softly and lay down beside Lily. Daniel quietly left, saying, "Call me immediately if anything happens." Melissa gazed at Lily's sleeping face, feeling various emotions swirling inside her chest. Anger, fear, and deep regret. Why had she left Lily with her mother and sister? Why hadn't she noticed sooner? The next morning, Melissa woke up early. Lily was still sleeping. She quietly slipped out of bed and made coffee in the kitchen. She called her company, explaining she needed a few days off due to urgent family matters. Her understanding boss said, "Take as many days as you need. Lily comes first." Then she contacted the police to discuss the child abuse case. The officer explained, charges are possible with evidence, but family matters can be complicated. Melissa took a deep breath and replied, "I'll think about it." As morning sunlight began streaming through the living room window, the kitchen door opened. Lily stood there with a sleepy face. "Good morning, Lily." Melissa immediately went to her daughter and embraced her. "Good morning, Mommy." Lily's voice was small. Melissa made warm cocoa for Lily, and they sat on the sofa. After a moment of silence, Melissa gently asked, "Lily, did anything else happen at Grandma's house?" Lily hugged her knees and clutched her cocoa cup with both hands. Her blue eyes showed anxiety. "You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to," Melissa added gently. "But," Lily began in a small voice. "Don't you want to know?" "Yes, but there's no rush." Lily took a deep breath and slowly began speaking. "Grandma and Aunt Vanessa changed as soon as you left." Melissa caught her breath. "How did they change?" "They said, your mother never really wanted you." Lily's voice trembled. "You're just getting in her way." Melissa's heart felt painfully constricted. "Lily, that's absolutely untrue. You're my treasure. The most important person in my world." Lily continued, "They threw away Mr. Fluffy," her voice choked. Mr. Fluffy was Lily's favorite stuffed animal. "What?" Melissa listened in disbelief. "They said, big girls don't need stuffed animals." Tears began falling from Lily's eyes. "I was scared at night. All alone in the dark room." Melissa felt her entire body growing hot with anger, but she desperately tried to maintain composure in front of Lily. She hugged her daughter tightly and promised, "It's all right now. I won't let that happen ever again." Lily's confessions continued. When she cried, Eleanor would say, "Can't you be strong like your mother?" Sometimes they would withhold meals. Vanessa had mocked Lily's drawings, saying, "You have no talent. Unlike your mother." Each word pierced Melissa's heart. Her mother and sister had directed their jealousy and resentment toward her at an innocent 6-year-old child. When Lily finished speaking, she looked exhausted. Melissa gently stroked her head and said, "You're truly brave. Thank you for telling Mommy everything." "Mommy, will we see them again? Grandma and Aunt Vanessa?" Lily asked, her face showing fear. "No, Lily. We won't see them again," Melissa answered firmly. That afternoon, Daniel visited. While Lily napped, he and Melissa discussed how to proceed. "Are you going to press charges?" Daniel quietly asked. Melissa gazed out the window before answering. "To be honest, I'm conflicted. Legal action might cause Lily more suffering. She might be asked to testify." "I understand." Daniel showed his support. "But the thought of them going unpunished." Melissa suddenly remembered, "Actually, I might have evidence. What is it? Daniel leaned forward. Before my trip, I installed a hidden camera in Lily's room, Melissa confessed, looking slightly embarrassed. Not because I didn't trust my mother and sister, but as a precaution for Lily's safety. Daniel's eyes lit up. That's crucial. With that footage, we can prove their actions. They immediately began working to secure the evidence. Melissa's determination solidified. She had no intention of forgiving her mother and sister's actions. Melissa sat in a dark corner of the living room, staring at her laptop screen. Daniel sat beside her, occasionally placing a hand on her shoulder with words of encouragement. They were reviewing footage recovered from the small surveillance camera installed in Lily's room. As the footage played, a dull pain shot through Melissa's chest. The first few hours seemed peaceful. Eleanor preparing dinner for Lily, Vanessa playing with her. But immediately after Melissa's first phone call, the atmosphere changed completely. You called your mother, Eleanor's voice on screen suddenly turned cold. Your mother is always busy with her own affairs. She doesn't really care about you. That's not true, Lily's small voice could be heard. Mommy says she loves me. You'd like to think so, Vanessa laughed. But you know, Lily. Melissa, I mean your mother, is the kind of person who would sacrifice anything for her own success. That's how she's always treated me and Mom. The footage progressively worsened. Eleanor and Vanessa used Melissa's absence to repeatedly psychologically attack Lily. They withheld food, locked her alone in a dark room, and threw away Lily's precious stuffed animal. And most shocking was the footage just before the dog food incident, showing the two laughing as they told Lily, "This is revenge against your mommy." This is. Daniel was at a loss for words. Melissa closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Her feelings transformed from anger to determination. I'll submit the footage to the police, her voice was unwavering. That's the right decision, Daniel agreed. We can't overlook this kind of abuse. The next morning, Melissa and Daniel went to the police station with the footage. The detective in charge was an older man named James Morrison. He watched the footage with a serious expression, then turned to Melissa. This is clear child abuse. Psychological abuse is a legitimate crime, Detective Morrison said with a stern expression. I'll request an arrest warrant. How is your child doing? She's recovering little by little, Melissa answered. We've also started counseling with a child psychologist. Good, Detective Morrison nodded. In a situation like this, the fact that your child could tell you everything indicates a strong relationship of trust. The police moved quickly. That afternoon, Eleanor and Vanessa were arrested at home. The news briefly reported them being taken away by police, their faces filled with surprise and fear. 3 weeks later, the initial hearing was held. Before entering the courtroom, Melissa took several deep breaths. Daniel gently patted her shoulder. You okay? Yes, Melissa smiled weakly. Just fighting for justice. In the courtroom, Eleanor and Vanessa were already seated. Both looked haggard, especially Eleanor, who appeared aged. But Vanessa's eyes still harbored flames of anger. Upon seeing Melissa, she widened her eyes and tightened her lips. As the trial began, the prosecution outlined the case in the opening statement. The defendants systematically and deliberately inflicted psychological abuse on a 6-year-old victim. We present video evidence that demonstrates this. When the footage was displayed on the courtroom screen, gasps and shocked voices emerged from the gallery. Eleanor lowered her face, while Vanessa stared straight ahead with a hardened expression. Called as a witness, Melissa gathered her courage and stood up. After taking the oath, she testified about the years of psychological abuse from her mother and sister, and the recent abuse toward Lily. They envied my success and, in retaliation, took out their frustrations on a helpless child. Melissa's voice resonated throughout the courtroom. She looked toward Eleanor and Vanessa. You are no longer my family. During cross-examination, the defense attorney tried to question Melissa's motives. Isn't the fact that you installed a hidden camera evidence that you were trying to entrap the defendants from the beginning? Melissa answered calmly, I was only trying to ensure my daughter's safety. It's true I couldn't fully trust my mother and sister, but I never imagined they would be this cruel. Lily was exempted from testifying. Instead, the child psychologist handling Lily's counseling took the stand. Lily has suffered deep emotional trauma from this incident, the psychologist explained quietly. Her sense of trust and safety has been shaken. Particularly, betrayal from family members who should be trusted has a significant impact on a child's mind. After 3 days of proceedings, Judgment Day arrived. The courtroom was tense. Melissa quietly took her seat, taking deep breaths repeatedly in her mind. The judge read the verdict with a solemn expression. Defendants Eleanor Harrison and Vanessa Harrison are found guilty of child abuse. A sigh of relief escaped from the gallery. However, considering the defendant's age, lack of prior criminal record, and the absence of physical harm, I sentence them to 1 year in prison, suspended for 3 years. Additionally, I order 200 hours of community service and mandatory psychological counseling. The judge continued, furthermore, I issue a restraining order regarding the victim, Lily Harrison. The defendants are prohibited from approaching within 100 yards of the victim for the next 5 years. After the verdict was handed down, Melissa quietly stood up and prepared to leave the courtroom. Before the exit, she turned toward Eleanor and Vanessa. They were speaking with their lawyer. This is the end, Melissa said in a quiet voice. I never want to see you again. Eleanor showed a genuine expression of regret for the first time. Tears welled in her eyes, and her lips trembled. Meanwhile, Vanessa's face flushed with anger and humiliation, but something in her eyes seemed to have changed. Melissa left the courtroom and stepped into the bright sunlight outside. Taking a deep breath, she felt the burden in her chest lighten slightly. She began walking forward. 6 months after the trial, on a Saturday morning, a park in suburban Boston was bathed in refreshing early summer sunlight. On the grass, a checkered picnic sheet was spread out with Melissa and Lily sitting on it. Children's laughter carried on the breeze. Mommy, look. Lily held up a flower crown she had made with both hands. Her smile was gradually erasing the shadows of past memories. It's beautiful, Melissa admired her daughter's artistic sense. She pushed back her hair and said, put it on me, bowing her head. Lily placed the flower crown on Melissa's head with a serious expression. Mommy looks like a princess. Thank you, Melissa smiled. But you're the real princess. Over the past few months, Melissa had consciously slowed her work pace. On weekends, they would go on picnics, cook together, or attend piano lessons that Lily had recently become interested in. The time they spent together was gradually healing Lily's emotional wounds. Regular sessions with the psychological counselor were also showing results. Lily's resilience is remarkable, the counselor told Melissa after last week's session. Your love and stable environment are helping her healing process. As she took sandwiches out of the picnic basket, Melissa glanced at the park entrance. Aunt Barbara was approaching with paper bags in both hands. Lily, Aunt Barbara is here. Lily paused making her flower crown and jumped up. Grandma Barbara. She ran toward Barbara. Barbara Harrison was Melissa's paternal aunt who had just returned to Massachusetts after her husband's death. After the trial, Melissa had contacted her seeking family connections, and they quickly became close. Barbara showered Lily with warm affection and gladly looked after her when Melissa was busy with work. I'm so happy to see my 2 favorite people, Barbara put down her paper bags and hugged Lily. I baked homemade brownies. The 3 gathered around the picnic sheet, sharing sandwiches and brownies. Conversation flowed naturally, and laughter never ceased. Watching Lily and Barbara, Melissa realized that true affection matters more than blood ties. Say, Melissa, Barbara said quietly. Lily was picking flowers a short distance away. Did you receive Eleanor's letter? Melissa showed a surprised expression. From Mother? No, nothing. I ran into her last week, Barbara explained. She started volunteering at the senior center. She said she wrote you a letter. That night, after putting Lily to bed, Melissa checked her mail. Indeed, there was an unopened envelope. The sender was Eleanor Harrison. With nervous hands, she opened the envelope. "Dear Melissa," the letter began. "This will be my last communication. I sincerely apologize for the unforgivable actions toward you and Lily. I am now taking responsibility for my actions and trying to give back to society in whatever small way I can. I don't ask for your forgiveness. I only pray for your and Lily's happiness. I will never contact you again, but I hope that someday you find peace. Eleanor." Melissa folded the letter with mixed emotions. While she couldn't forgive yet, she felt slight comfort that her mother was showing some remorse and trying to change. The next morning, while preparing breakfast, Lily appeared in the kitchen with a sleepy face. "Good morning, Mommy," she stretched. "Good morning, my angel," Melissa hugged Lily. "What shall we do today?" Lily showed a bright smile. "I'm baking cookies with Grandma Barbara." Melissa gently stroked Lily's head. "Our family may be small, but it's filled with love." Lily laughed innocently. "Mommy, we're happy, aren't we?" Melissa smiled with tears in her eyes.